If I had a night with Gael, I think this is what I would do with him.
I'm on the edge of my seat. Go on.
I would lay out.
Oh. Wow.
Maybe
Risque, bitch.
I don't know. Whatever it is, I'm pretty sure he knows how to it.
Bitch. I love it. I actually love that. Wow. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Bem.
Oh my God. Hi. Look at your face. You got new hair and everything.
Yeah, I'm trying something a little different.
You're not trying, you're succeeding. You see what I did there? Thank you. Thank you. This week, we have something quite remarkable on our hands.
Yes, indeed.
It's a dynamo, a pocket-sized, just hottie.
Isn't he just a cute little mite of a man?
A mite. Oh my God, you're so country sometimes. I love it. He's a mite of a man.
Yes.
He is. He's just delightful. Who are we talking about this week, Nicole?
We are talking about Gael Garcia Bernal.
Yes. I just want to put him in some bread and just eat him like a little sandwich.
Oh my God, don't even get me started on sopping him up.
Like a biscuit.
Yes.
Very surprisingly, like when we began talking about this, we suddenly thought, oh shit, we really fancy this dude.
He's been around for 18, almost 20 years.
Like as an adult. But he started off as a child actor.
Yeah, exactly.
Like apparently he was acting before he was even like 2 years old. So he's been on screen. I feel like he's very comfortable on screen. However, he's not that familiar to those of us who don't speak Spanish.
Right.
But what we know of him, we really, really like.
Absolutely.
And to help us to kind of pass through his career and his beauty, we have a guest this week, don't we?
Yes, we do. We have the wonderful, fantastic, hilarious Alexis Ned.
Yay! If you're a fan of other BuzzFeed podcasts, you may have heard Alexis on See Something, Say Something, our sister, brother podcast. Love you, Ahmed. And Alexis is fantastic. She's just this incredibly funny, smart, aware, and just wonderfully arch commentator on life and humor. She also really fancies Gael. So I feel like we're going to have a very thirsty session today.
She has a thing for men who are 5'8" and under. So I'm
Wonderful.
interested to see what she says about Gael.
Listen, it is a very broad church and we're all God's children and everyone's beautiful. And as Nicole so wonderfully, eloquently puts it, there is a lid for every pot.
Yep.
Wonderful. So let's get cooking. Hey.
I see what you did there. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's get on. Nicole.
Yeah, Bim.
Let me tell you about one sunny afternoon. I was at university. So it's very,
I feel like any story that starts off with somebody in college is going to be some mess.
Do you know what? Not in this case.
Okay.
This is a very innocent story. It was a story of two friends looking at one another, much like you and I are looking at one another in the studio right now, and then having a sudden and very deep understanding of what the other person really is like. I was watching a movie called Y tu mamá también.
Yes. Which means, and your mama too, right? Yeah.
Ooh, stick you, your daddy too, and your mama. Okay. Anyway, my point is, if you've never seen this movie, it stars Gael Garcia Bernal, and he looks like truly the snackiest snack.
Okay, let's just clear up that he was 23 at the time that he was performing in this
was
movie.
23.
Okay, but he was playing a younger man.
Yes, he was playing a younger adult.
Right.
But also, let me point out, like I said, I was at university at this time, and that was X years ago, and I myself was a young adult. So I watched this movie.
I just can't. Your face right now.
I'm remembering it. I'm reliving it right in front of your fucking.
Yes.
This is live theater.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching that movie and thinking to myself, well, I've got to move. I've got to go to South America. I've got to move immediately and begin a life of sexual decadence with this man and just live it forever, because this movie has all the bad things. Lots of sex, lots of drugs, just nudity, fucking, emotions all over the messy emotions. It also has some of the hottest sex scenes I have ever seen since I have had eyes.
Oh my gosh.
Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
I had to take a Silkwood shower afterwards. Like, did I just do all those things, or did I just watch it happen? And at the end of the movie, I remember looking at my friend, and we both just had this deep, sudden understanding that we had to be away from one another for like 2 hours while we both kind of processed what we had just seen together. And I remember just kind of looking and kind of going, you know stuff about me now that you will never know, and vice versa.
The movie doesn't prepare you for watching it with a friend because you're just like, oh, it's a story about two guys, two friends, just, you know,
Coming of
traveling.
age.
Yeah,
Right.
right. You know, they meet this woman, Louisa, and whatever, things happen. And then you end up looking at your friend, like you're saying, just kind of like, wow, let's just leave each other alone for a second because
Yep.
our friendship isn't like that.
And now it is.
Yeah. But it was fantastic. It's a beautiful movie. Just first of all, just a beautiful movie.
100%.
Really compelling. You're transfixed watching it. Like, 'cause you don't know exactly what's going to happen.
Right.
You know, coming of age stories typically tend to have some kind of trauma or some kind of
events.
Yeah.
And this one actually has that. You know, the background is like Mexican presidents from like, you know, however many years ago. It's a very cultural. So it's directed by Alfonso Cuarón, who went on wonderfully to direct a Harry Potter movie many years later, which I love. That's one of my favorite details, that the guy who made Y Tu Mamá También also made a Harry Potter film. Just beautiful. But it was released in like 2002. It was that was a very different time in the world as well. So the background is like Mexican history. So essentially this whole movie is very much a mashup of several genres. And the key thing at the core of it is this friendship between these two guys.
Yeah.
And the woman who is between them, which I guess there's always a woman, isn't there?
Right.
Even when the woman just kind of living her life. God damn it.
Right.
But there is just so much.
Gael plays Julio. Diego plays Tanakh. And then we also have Maribel Verdú as Luisa. Now, like you were saying, we tend to focus on Julio and Tanakh and all the political background stuff. But Luisa has some shit going on with her.
Right.
And we don't find out about it. So almost the end.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like, oh, we could have been concerned about her and the decisions that she's been making, but we were too caught up on the relationship between Julio and Tanakh.
Right. But it's like kind of like a woman's story is always taking a backseat
Yes.
to like the trauma of men's lives.
Yes.
And it's like, for fuck's sake.
She's
Anyway.
got trauma too.
Right? But what I truly, truly appreciate about the movie is that it feels very equal ops in terms of like giving you thirst objects. And in highlighting the beauty of Gael, well, like I said, I've said a lot already, too much already. But my God, I just remember looking at him and just kind of going, "What a dream!"
Yes, because you know he is very slim, slight.
That's your fave.
Yes, he's got some
Yes, she
hair going on. They both have hair. Diego and Gael have some, you know, kind of longish hair.
Yeah.
Just a little
It's a lovely duo.
Yeah. The scene that stands out the most, I mean, there are a lot of explicit sex scenes.
Oh,
but,
you think?
Yeah. But at the beginning, when Julio and Tanakh are on diving boards in the swimming pool, they're on their individual diving boards.
Hold on, let me get a drink. Okay, carry on.
And they engage in some mutual masturbation. I'm just going to flat out say it. I was going to try to pretty it up,
We're all adults. Just doing boy things.
Yeah, I think that might have been, even though I was a little older when this film came out, I think that might have been the first time where two young men engaged in sexual activity, I guess with each other, you could say.
Yeah.
And it
Separate
wasn't
but together.
Yeah, and it wasn't considered a joke. It wasn't considered kind of like a mistake.
Right.
They were very much like, this is what we're doing, and now we're done, and let's go about our day.
I mean, just like you said, tackle your to-do list, bitch. Like, sometimes you just got to have a wank with your friend and then head off into the day. I'm so sorry, Mum, if you're listening. Mum, just turn it off, Just turn it off. But you're completely right. Like, the idea of kind of treating this particular sexuality as not a joke is a very small but important part of how we, in general, I guess, kind of process and analyze desire, where we kind of think, oh, this is okay or this is not okay. And that is a very small but pivotal moment in kind of going, you know what, it's okay.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, to Mama Tambien.
Now, before Y Tu Mamá También, which was in 2001, Gael was in a film called Amores Perros in 2000. And it's the beginning of a trilogy, or it's not a trilogy, it's considered like a triptych. Because the films are very loosely related around this particular car accident.
Right.
It's a really beautiful, strange film.
It is.
And I think it's something that if you are not familiar with his work, you definitely have to go back and check out, because his performance in that he's arresting.
Yes, it's textured.
Yeah.
He gives you a lot. I think that's because I didn't watch that before. Because my first exposure to him, lol, was Itumama Tamia. But then I went back afterwards and I was like, let's see what else he's done. And then I saw this. And I remember thinking, God, he's exactly the same and yet entirely different. I mean, still smoking hot. Let's be very clear about this. This is called Thirst Aid Kit, and we're here to thirst. But there was also just, like you said, like this idea of like, oh, you can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like you're quite capable at this acting shit.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful.
Reminds me of Bad Education, which came out a little later in 2004.
I haven't seen that.
Again, it's just kind of like, what the fuck am I watching? But I can't look away.
Right.
It's very stylized. It's a kind of a murder mystery kind of thing.
Is it violent?
It is. It actually had an NC-17 rating because of the violence, explicit sex, lots of drug use.
Hold on, let me write this down. I'm going to watch this movie right after this.
They eventually censored it to R ratings so that it could come out in American theaters, but...
it's a lot, yeah.
It is. And you also have this thing where you have a cis male playing a trans woman. So be aware of that.
Wait, is Gael the guy?
Yes.
Oh, come on, bro.
Yes. So be aware of that going in. And again, this is 2004. So the language and the portrayal is not what we should expect.
Right.
I
mean, listen, terrible movies about trans people are still being made in big 2018. So
this is true.
Do you know what? That's one horrible pattern that Hollywood still hasn't caught up on. Or even not Hollywood. The thing that always gets me, though, speaking of Hollywood, is that most of Gael's career actually has been away from English-speaking Hollywood.
Right, yeah.
Which I think is actually quite an interesting point of entry, because I think for so many of us, the idea of thirst objects is that we are incredibly familiar. I'm talking about us English-speaking folks. We have to be incredibly familiar with their body of work in essentially a common language. But the thing about Gael is that he's basically been doing solid work. He has like a production company with his friend and co-star Diego Luna, and they make movies from their continent about their continent, and I find that just fantastic. Like, I mean, there are so many barriers to so many things, but there's something about him kind of doing this work where he does it that makes me feel actually kind of like, cool. I love that you're not kind of like full-time in Hollywood, kind of hustling, making shit happen.
Yeah, because a lot of his work is kind of quiet. When I say quiet, I mean it's not a big splash in the box office, right? And
not always.
Not always. And he doesn't seem overly concerned with that. It's just, yes, he probably wants to get into American Hollywood movies and stuff like that, because who doesn't? But he's also just like, yeah, but I have these other projects too, and I'm cool with that.
Right. And they keep him kind of like satisfied. And speaking of him not working in English-speaking movies, he did one film that I am yet to see. I've only ever seen clips of it. I know you have very strong feelings about this film, because when it came up, you kind of leaned back in your chair and just kind of like exhaled with your whole body. Now, this apparently was the biggest Mexican box office film of ever. And he plays a priest. So listen, when you said he plays a priest, I was like, I gotta say, that doesn't sound hot. And then you were like, no, let me stop you there. So I'm gonna just hand over to you now so you can tell us a little bit about this one. What's it called, Nicole?
It is called The Crime of Padre Amaro.
All right, cool, I'm in.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Now, if you consider yourself a Christian religious person, if you are Catholic, you're gonna have a lot of problems with this film.
Oh, I did not expect that sentence to end there. Okay.
It is a little, I guess it would be considered sacrilegious, because...
Is it?
Gael plays the titular priest, and he has an affair with a young woman in his parish. Boy.
What a gentle boy.
But there's one moment where she does some role play as the Virgin Mary, and he's really into it.
Wait, what?
I'm talking about the veil over her hair.
No.
She poses like a Virgin Mary.
Listen, I'm not even a Catholic, and I am secondhand offended. What the fuck, man?
It definitely makes you uncomfortable, regardless of your religious affiliation.
How did this go down in Mexico, fam?
Listen, I don't know, but I'm telling you, you need to see it because there's that taboo element, right? There's just enough taboo to make it kind of steamy.
Oh, just enough when somebody dresses as the mother of the Lord? Sure. Oh my God.
Padre Amaro comes across Amelia praying.
Mm-hmm. And Amelia is the woman in his congregation.
Yes.
Right.
And this is going to be in Spanish, so I'm going to translate a little bit based on the subtitles because I don't speak Spanish.
All right, cool.
You know. He asks, why are you crying?
Por Rubén.
Over Ruben?
Por usted.
No, over you.
Por todo lo que ha sufrido sin quejarse.
Over all you have suffered without complaining. Look at that.
His face is just a lot.
There's no other audio, but I just want Bim to see.
Yeah, I'm seeing. I was blind, but now I see.
So he's like brushing her hair, trying to soothe her.
I'm sorry, but your priest should not be stroking your face like this. That's just my feeling as a non-Catholic.
Yeah.
But also a human woman.
Yes. And now they're kissing.
Fucking hell, mate. That's a little bit of extra aftercare.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a pretty fucking hot kiss, isn't it? I think this is the thing. So,
and then as they're kissing, you see Jesus on the cross.
Yes.
Bleeding.
Yeah.
So we're going to put this whole clip on our Tumblr because there's not much more audio to it. And I just wanted, I just wanted them to see it. And also, you know, we have a lot of Spanish language clips, and in order to keep from translating, we'll just post them up.
Perfect. The thing that I really love about that clip is, again, we've mentioned this before with other actors, the face acting is sublime.
Oh my God.
He has such an expressive face. I mean, like I said, I could really turn everything I say about him into something filthy, but I love seeing him express his face. Yeah. It's a very, very good face. I feel like because he speaks very, very good English. So this is a moot point here. Yeah. But I feel like even if he didn't speak any English, I feel like he and I could have a very, very long, involved conversation with my 4 words of Spanish. And and I feel very strongly that is because he has this face. And now my favorite part about his face is in fact his nose.
Okay. I will allow that. I mean, I do, you know, we both like strong noses.
Yeah, we do.
I thought you were going to say his mouth.
His mouth is my very close second.
Okay.
But the nose, I don't know what it is about it, but my God.
Man.
It's a little bit upturned at the end, and it's a strong nose, as you pointed out. And it's just, people don't have enough. There aren't enough people in Hollywood with noses like Gael's.
We love a strong nose. Yeah, we love a prominent nose.
A prominent nose.
And all that could signal.
Oh my God. Especially when you add in a very lovely mouth. There's something about his face that is incredibly, it's quite delicate. It reminds me actually of like the stereotypical idea of what we think of when we say elfin. Like it's kind of sharp and pointed and just kind of like, you know, there's a lot to it. All of it working together to create this actually quite beautiful and delicate looking man. And then he speaks, and let's not forget about his fucking voice, yeah? Now,
oh my God.
Of course, there are biases involved when we think about lovely accents.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing how many people love a Spanish accent, but don't love a Congolese accent or a Nigerian accent or whatever. And that's fine, except it's not. Because a lot of that is also tied into other things. And here we are just kind of analyzing who we fancy, why we fancy. And it's obviously there's a hierarchy of what is a desirable accent. And of course, as a Spanish-speaking person, Gael's accent is particularly desirable for most of us. Take away the accent. Let's talk about the timbre of his voice. His voice makes me want to eat like comfort food.
Okay.
Like I want to tuck into like a bowl of like hot rice.
Okay.
And like, you know, just something that was cooked with love.
Okay.
His voice sounds like it could be home. Do you know what I mean? It's just really, it's kind of rough and it's kind of soft.
Yeah, see, when I hear his voice, I want him. Okay. So you're spooning, right?
Oh my God.
And he's behind you.
What?
Wait, just listen. So you're the little spoon, he's the big spoon, and he's talking into your back, like just below your spine, so you can feel the vibrations of him talking.
How often have you thought about this, Nicole?
I've thought about it often.
That was specific as fuck.
So that's what I just feel like. I want to be the little spoon and feel his voice vibrating through me.
Sí entiendo. Y Dios le podrá dar mucha risa, pero yo me voy a seguir con mis planes.
Wow. I don't know about you, Nicole, but again, we've reached a new level of friendship and I'm here for it. Do you know what I mean? I love it. I love a bit of it.
We've got Alexis Ned in the house. Hello, Alexis.
Hi.
You are a former editor at Cosmopolitan, also formerly of BuzzFeed. And you're just an incredible all-around wonderful writer that we love seeing on Twitter. You constantly have a nice little thread of thirst that goes viral every now and then, and we love it.
It's my favorite thing. You are an involved writer of headcanons. You've got a very specific one about Chris Evans, haven't you?
It's very true. For about 3 years, I have had the same Chris Evans headcanons thread going. And it's all about Chris Evans just being secretly really, really down with Black women specifically. And the canon gets more elaborate the more I tweet.
What's your favorite Chris Evans headcanon right now?
Actually, I recently retweeted one where your friend sets you up on a blind date with Chris Evans, and you offer to buy the second round of drinks, but Chris Evans says no and whispers, reparations.
Oh, my God.
As he slips a coaster under your mojito.
Oh, my God. I hate
I
you
love
so
it.
much.
I love it. Oh, my God. I love it.
Okay, so we're going to talk about somebody else who is very hot and probably also is into reparations. I'm guessing it's possible. We don't know.
We don't know.
It's Gael Garcia Bernal. Look at you, your shoulders are shimmying.
That's just my immediate reaction to hearing his name.
And why is that?
He was one of my OG high school thirst objects. I had a very eccentric social studies teacher. And whenever he kind of like got bored in class, he would just show us a Gael Garcia Bernal movie, mostly Iñárritu, which are a little heavy for 10th graders sometimes. But, you know, he was trying to prepare us for the world. Sure. And the second he showed up on screen, it set the entire 10th grade class on fire. Like every single girl in class had a crush on this small Mexican actor.
Yeah.
And I was like, yep, this one's going to be formative. And sure enough, it was.
Do you know what? I love when you can look at something and immediately see your future and just kind of go, oh, this is the thing I like. Because you've mentioned, and Nicole kind of brought it up before, you love a small man.
I do love a small man.
Are you yourself a small person?
I consider myself to be on the smaller side of average.
Okay.
I'm actually Gael's height. I'm 5'6".
Okay. That's a good thing. You guys could be like, you could share your clothes and whatnot.
Yeah. That's a new one that I'm keeping.
All right. So let's talk about the very specific hotness moment for you when it comes to Gael. What is it that you think of and kind of remember fondly and hold close to your heart when you think of Gael?
Ooh, I think of the Motorcycle Diaries. When he is in a hammock and he just has this undershirt on and it's just like a slow pan on him gazing into the middle distance and the light is hitting his hazel eyes and they're sparkling and he is scruffy and he is filthy. He looks like he smells incredible in a bad way. And it's just like this like sweaty, wonderful, future horrible person. But it was just like this beautiful ideal of masculine beauty that I hadn't really been exposed to before. Before, like I went to a very preppy high school. Everybody was very neat. Everybody was very blonde for the most part.
Alexis is not blonde, for the record.
I am not blonde. I am a woman of color. And just to see Gael laid out as this like bronze thinking god was very important to me.
Yeah.
You mentioned smell, and obviously this is a podcast and we can't talk about smell too much, but the idea that you can tolerate stink when it's from somebody that you love or somebody you're with I think is so important because, there's all this talk about, if the guy comes home from playing basketball or he's been out, cutting grass and he's stinky and smelly, but it's also you get kind of turned on by it. So when you're talking about seeing him in this hammock and he's filthy, I understand.
It's a chemical thing.
Yes.
It's how we can smell compatibility.
All right, David Attenborough 2.0. So, of course, The Motorcycle Diaries is the movie about Che Guevara, the revolutionary, as we know of him now. But this is a slightly different movie, kind of showing a different side of Che. Is that correct?
Yes. It's based on Che's diaries about when he was taking a road trip on a motorcycle through Central and South America. And you sort of see how the older Che developed his ideas about economic injustice and revolution and borders based on what he experienced when he was at that age. But they don't really go into much the politics of it. You just see a very handsome young man on a motorcycle learning some things.
Right. Which, for the purposes of Thirst, is really all you need.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you were young when you saw this. You were like, yeah, this dude he's a cool dude. I'm just learning some stuff about myself, but also about, America.
Yeah.
Okay, so Alexis, before you kind of joined us in the studio, Nicole and I were talking about Itumama Tambien.
Yes.
Which is this coming of age, boys on the road movie with shades of politics. And we spoke a little bit about the drug and sex scenes in that movie. You have some feelings about Gael, don't you, and how he does something?
I do. Gael, I think, is one of the world's most preeminent movie kissers.
Yes.
What a title.
Yes.
When my 10th grade class saw him in other movies, we would just go on YouTube and watch other kiss scenes from other movies with no context.
I love young people.
One of which was the scene in which he and Diego Luna finally make out in Y Tu Mamá También.
Oh my God, how did we do that?
That wasn't even harmonized. It was pitch perfect from both of you. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yes,
Yeah, we do.
absolutely.
Ooh.
And they are standing next to each other. There is a woman in between them, but she is not on the same level of standing as they are.
Well, I like
And they kind of these two friends, these guys being bros, just kind of their faces turn towards each other, and there's this slow magnetic mush. And then you've got Gael's massive, beautiful mouth. His mouth does not get enough credit for being as specifically beautiful as it is.
Yes.
And Diego Luna is also just a stunning dude. And
I have strong feelings for him too.
He's so scruffy and just edible.
I think it is the mouth because he can envelop anybody else's mouth with his mouth.
But in not in a gross way. Not like not like you feel like
your face.
It's not eat your face way.
Yeah.
But sometimes when very small-lipped actors have kissing scenes, you're sitting there and you're wondering where does it go? Where do the lips go? And you're at some point it just looks like they're kissing mustache or
oh my
upper
God.
lip.
I hear you. That's very specific kind of thirst analysis, and I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yes.
So he's out there enveloping Diego Luna's lips.
Yes.
And you're getting strong feelings.
That's very, very strong feelings. And then after that, it's just there's compilations of Gael's greatest kisses and cinema. The priest kiss, which you guys referenced before. Contextually, not great. To be fair, I didn't know that was what the movie was about. I learned that today. I just saw the makeout scenes.
Oh my God. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, you have to go back and watch this movie.
You sound so serious, like you're sending your homework. You have to go and watch this movie.
I mean, it is so sensual and wrong.
Story of my life, fam. Me, sensual but wrong.
Because what you're talking about, there's Gael and his face just softens before he kisses whoever he's about to kiss, whatever movie that he's in. He really just is this is work, but we can enjoy it. You know what I mean? That sounds terrible, but
Wow. What's the point of going to work if you can't eke out just a modicum of joy?
I'm saying,
Without being a creep.
yes.
You just go in and, make the best of your work situation.
Exactly. If we have to kiss in front of all these people under all these lights, it should be comfortable and good, and you're going to fucking remember me.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It's the face softening I think you totally have right there. Because whenever anyone is like magnetically pulled towards his face, that's the thing. He almost never leans in a kiss. Everyone always is drawn towards his
Oh
face.
my God.
What a moment of realization.
There's
Yes.
another kiss in a movie called I'm with Lucy. It's a French movie where he plays kind of a hotshot director or filmmaker of some sort, and he's sitting at the edge of a fish pond with this woman, and he's discussing, oh, I love how you write about my work. I feel like you really understand what I'm coming at. And it's just like kind of rambling about filmmaking, but throughout the whole scene, the woman is just slowly inching towards him with just her face. And he keeps talking until she is so close, it is beyond awkward. And then the face softens and the kiss happens.
Wow.
Oh
But
my
it's
God.
this magnetic pull. And then they fall into the fish pond and keep making out,
Sure.
which is not the sexiest thing. But it's the draw. It's the face draw.
Right. I love how you described that. She was like a thirst shark, just moving in one direction. She knew where she was going.
She almost didn't have a choice. Her heart said yes and her body said yes. So
then
everything
everything-
said yes.
Yes. Now, speaking of kisses, there was a moment on the Late Late Show with James Corden where Gael is on the sofa or the chair or whatever, and he's talking with James, and James is asking about his first kiss, and he kind of shows a little clip of Gael as an 11-year-old kissing another child on some show. And Gael then begins to remember, or rather he's asked to remember his very first kiss, which apparently happened in kindergarten, which, sure. But the way
That's
he
when I had mine.
You people. So there's just a bit when he kind of is describing, and I just want you to kind of listen to this, because when you talk about magnetism, here's what happens.
No, actually, my first kiss was really funny. It was in kindergarten, and I remember very, yeah, I do remember very strongly.
What's it like
yes.
to be attractive? Cool.
No.
Forever.
It was this girl who I thought already had a boyfriend, because she talked about having a boyfriend. And,
Sorry, how old are you at this
Kindergarten.
point?
yeah,
How old?
like before going to primary school. So yeah, kindergarten.
Like 5?
No, like 6, 5.
Like
Young,
5,
right?
6, yeah, 5 to 6.
I love how you said 6 like I was way off
Like
with
6.
5. Like I was so far out with 5. I went, well, like 5. Well,
You're
no,
wrong.
like 6.
What a life, eh? Jeez.
And
it's so
even as
good.
he's telling the story, that face softening is happening because he's saying he's having that physical memory, and you can see it coming down over his face.
And he
he's
touches
just-
his lips.
Yes.
And you're like, yeah, I
Yes.
feel that too. Wow.
Yeah.
What a potent man. I'm
Yes.
sorry, I'm sweating a bit, actually.
He's a little dangerous. I'm not going to lie.
Yes. And like, we've talked about this a little bit before in different episodes, but he's got this great smile, but there's also this one tooth that's a little
Yes.
snaggle. It protrudes a little bit, and he's like,
Yeah.
never change.
I love the snaggle too.
Yes. It's so pretty.
Oh my God. It's amazing how we're talking about this with Alexis mentioning the 10th grade, because I feel like a very giggly school person right now. It's kind of like, and then what? And then what? I just want to watch videos of his kisses now.
I want to move forward a little bit because we've talked about that he's got a fairly long career, and obviously he's been working since he was a child. And one of his most recent projects was on Amazon called Mozart in the Jungle. Unfortunately, it's been canceled, but it started in 2014. And here is when I get to see him be funny, because a lot of the films that I've seen him in are dramas, and he's not really allowed to be as funny as he could be.
Right.
But in Mozart in the Jungle, he plays a conductor who was a child prodigy, and he's actually fairly funny in this series. So I'm going to play like this really quick clip. Rodrigo is cooking breakfast for his girlfriend, Haley, which he pronounces as Hailey, which is so great. And her roommates, and they ask him about, you've been staying here a lot. What's happening with that?
Rodrigo,
Yeah, Sharon.
are you living here now?
What?
I just asked if your boyfriend is living here now.
Boyfriend? I've never been called a boyfriend before. This is the first time. Boyfriend.
Why would you think he was living here?
Just because he's been here every night this week.
Which is not a problem.
No, not at all. But it's just that I'm a little short on rent this week.
Sean.
And Sebastian?
Rent. Yeah, no. It's a crime to make musicians pay the rent.
And yet they do.
Well, how about I pay the rent?
For 1 year.
Oh,
No,
but, well, why not?
because you're not my sugar daddy.
But you call me sweetie all the time.
I know, but that's different.
You can be my sugar daddy. No problem. No problem.
Turn yourself after him.
Okay.
Same.
So, there are these little moments where he's very funny because he's kind of naive, but also very much aware of things going on in the world still. But so this is just a really funny series about musicians and the dirty things that they get into.
I mean, sure. I'm speaking of funny. I watched him recently in Coco because you don't see him, but you hear his wonderful, wonderful voice. Have you guys seen Coco?
I haven't seen it, but I know about his character.
Okay, so listen. I watched it on a plane and I cried so hard that the older lady next to me was kind of like, "Are you all right, darling? Are you all right, dear?" Because I was not all right, okay? I was fucked up. This movie is maybe, I don't know, the best movie of all time. I don't know. I was a wreck. And part of the reason why I was so wrecked is basically Gael playing this chap called Hector. I'm not going to ruin it for those who haven't seen it because I hadn't seen it and I was delighted not to be spoiled. But oh my God, it is a nuanced, it's oh my God. And because you don't see him, you focus on just the wonderfulness of his voice. And he sings in the fucking movie and Jesus Christ. I'm about to start crying again. He's good. He is so good. And it's like this kid's movie. And it's, again, one of those movies. It's a Pixar movie, but it's, it's about Mexico and it's about the Day of the Dead and it's about tradition and family and all these things. And by the time you're done watching this fucking movie, you're kind of like, do you know what? What a shame I wasn't born Mexican because what a rich culture. And how can I learn more? It's so good. And he does so much and it's won all the awards and it should win all the awards because it's so good. And Jesus, I mean, guys, let's have like a long Gael movie day because he's so funny and so hot and just a wonderful kisser and probably a fantastic dad who loves dogs or whatever the fuck. I have very strong feelings about Gael, and I want to live with him. I want to spend time.
He speaks at the UN too.
Oh my
Just
God.
fighting for human rights. Because damn it.
It's like he's your personal catnip.
It's embarrassing.
You are grinning directly into the mic.
I am.
I mean, listen. I feel like if you can look at someone and feel strongly that they would make time for you in their life and you would, they would add to your life and you would add to theirs, that's a pretty successful thirsting session. And I feel like we all have that with Gael. Am I correct?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What a conclusion we've come to, guys.
Alexis, do you have any final thoughts on Gael Garcia Bernal?
I mean, I think the general rule of thirst with Gael is that even though he's on the shorter side compared to Hollywood actors, sometimes truly spectacular things come in small packages.
Oh,
yes.
I love it.
I love it.
You
Yeah.
should be in sales. You're very good at this. It's very good. Oh, Alexis, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate you. We appreciate your thoughts and your insights. And of course, also the new realization that we have about fucking Gael's magnetic pull.
Yes.
So tell our lovely listeners where they can find you on the internet.
You can find me on Twitter at Alexis the Ned, Nedd. And that's about all where I am for now. But
Nice.
keep your eye on my Twitter for later news.
Hey, look at that. She's such a saleswoman. She's like, listen, come here for the Gael thoughts and stay for some other stuff too. I like it. I like it a lot. Alexis, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So every week we ask our listeners to send us feedback, whether that's like via a rating or a review or whatever. And people sometimes, as we have requested, send us some of their drabbles.
And they are pretty good, pretty filthy.
I mean, basically, thirst begets yet more thirst.
Spot on. Yeah.
It's basically a law of the universe. And when we ask you to send your stuff in, people just fucking deliver. And this week we're going to read a little bit from a drabble that somebody sent in.
Yes, but thirst bucket named Cookie.
Cookie
actually sent us in 5 drabbles.
Cookie basically was like, you're going to take one of these drabbles. And bitch, we listened. We did it.
Now, this does not mean that everyone should send us 5 drabbles
Please
at
don't.
once.
Cookies were exceptional, to be fair.
Yes.
And the one we've chosen to read out, or at least part of it on air, is about a very specific thirst object, which comes up quite a lot during our gift parties on Twitter.
Yeah. I'm feeling it.
Listen, so am I. Cookie's Drabble is about Gwendolyn Christie, who you may know as Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones.
Right.
She's like a 6-foot-something fucking just hot piece of
Just
steak.
a goddess.
A goddess walking among us mere mortals, and she is stunning. And Cookie basically wrote us a little... I gotta say, got me a little bit sweaty myself. So we're gonna read just a little segment of it.
Just a little bit, because we can't read the whole thing.
No.
But we're gonna put the rest on our Tumblr, which is thursdaykitpodcast.tumblr.com. And yeah, you're gonna have to read the whole thing, and let's see what it does.
This is me reading Cookie's Drabble about Gwendolyn Christie. All right, wee one, let's see what you've got. With a sly smirk, Gwen picks up her staff and faces me in the courtyard. I grip my staff and advance on her, swinging out 2 blows in rapid succession, first to her right shoulder, then her left. She deflects both quite easily with her staff, then swats me on my bum. Cookie!
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 You're a filthy thirst bucket, and we appreciate you and your efforts, and we will post the rest of this Drabble up on our Tumblr, as we said earlier.
Thank you so much for sending it in.
Yes. If you want to send us a Drabble of your own, of course, don't forget to email us at thirstaidkit@buzzfeed.com, and we hope to read one or some of your Drabbles on air very soon.
All right. Well, let's move on now to Fanfic Wars,
Okay.
where we read our own Drabbles.
Original fiction, bitch.
Yeah, about our thirst object of the day, Gael Garcia Bernal.
The pocket rocket himself. Hey.
Pocket rocket.
My Drabble this week is very short, which, you know.
That's fine.
It's fine. Short is also good.
Yeah,
You
as
see?
we've seen in Gael.
It's a theme of the week.
Yes.
I'm really braced for something because Gael suits you to a T.
He really does, but I'm actually quite tame today.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, I believe you. Wait, what I mean to say is I don't believe you, but go ahead.
Okay, listen. I was just about to leave the restaurant when Gael showed up. He wasn't late, but first date nerves were taking me under. I saw a man approaching the table, and I couldn't help myself. I stared. None of his features should work together, but they created a portrait of beauty that froze me in place. Then he smiled, his wide mouth a promise, his eyes crinkling in guarantee. He took both my hands in one of his and pulled me from my seat. We air-kissed. He smelled like a dark chocolate musk. I closed my eyes to better take in the scent, and we lingered a second too long, his cheek against mine. We were the same height, so I looked him in his eyes as we pulled away. They glinted with the knowledge of how tonight will end. I smiled back in agreement.
All right. Tell me more a little bit about his fucking wide mouth, innit? What?
It's a promise, bitch.
It's a promise. Nicole, man, I'm going to find you and stab you. I can't believe you did this to me. What? His mouth is a promise?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
What is the meaning of all this?
Just look at him.
Oh, God. All right. Okay.
Okay, but Bim, you have something too.
It's only a little bit. Just a little something. Ain't no promises in my fucking Drabble, but all right. Let's get the show on the road. Gael raises his arms and brings them down again, dramatically. Like this, he says. I replicate his move, or at least I think I do. And I see him roll his eyes gently before he shakes his head. It's a good thing you're so naturally good at other things, he says, smiling. When I stare at him pointedly and remind him that he is himself a fake conductor on a TV show, the twinkle in his eye only gets brighter. He spreads his hands out again, palms up. Since you're such a bad student, he says, why don't you teach me something? I've already taught you so much, I say. So teach me something new, he whispers. And so I do. It's been a very thirsty month, all right?
Oh my God.
Ooh, wee tiger.
Damn. Okay,
Listen.
I see you teaching. Okay.
I am a teacher. And those who can teach, Nicole. Okay. And I can, so I teach.
I
Yeah.
love it. And we both had glints and
Glints.
twinkles in the eye.
He's a twinkly motherfucker,
I'm
that's
telling
why.
you.
Listen, he's rivaling the sun out there, just shining, shining, yeah. All of this thirsting, I've been losing my mind. Hey, hold up.
Oh my gosh. All right, thirst bucket. So we have Gael's mouth as a promise. Then we have Gael as a student. Which one is the one that's gonna, send your pocket rocket up into space?
Wow, I hate you so much. Listen, we're going to put a poll up. As we've said previously, we like to give it a day or two to bed in. Think about which drabble is going to send you, as Nicole has said, what's going to send your pocket rocket into space. And then you can vote. And that's on our Twitter, which is @ThirstAidKit. Oh, God, Nicole, that feels like we did a lot this week.
I know. I mean, Gael, man.
Listen.
Got us all verklempt.
All right.
Thirst Aid Kit is produced by us, Bim Adewunmi and Nicole Perkins, Julia Furlan, and TK Dutesse.
Our music is by Tanya Morgan, and you can follow us on Twitter @ThirstAidKit. We're also on Tumblr, which is thirstaidkitpodcast.tumblr.com, and sometimes over there, we even answer your questions. We're also on Twitter @TNWhiskeyWoman, that's whiskey with an E, and @BimAdew.
The Thirst Sommeliers need your messages. Call us and leave a brief message on 765-884-4778. That's 765-8-THIRST.
Thank you so much for listening, and you can extend your good deed by heading over to Apple Podcasts to rate and review the show. It really helps other people find us, love us, and all that good stuff.
Feel free to live tweet your listen using the hashtag TACPOD, that's TAKPOD, and if you feel like it, you got something you want to say, just send us an email at ThirstAidKit@BuzzFeed.com.
Okay, guys, we'll be back next week, so in the meantime, grab a straw and keep a drink close by.
Bye.
Wow. How did we synchronize that just thirsty sigh?
Oh my God.